contract to close person, and they don't necessarily want their agents to get a million emails when things are signed. Is there any way to turn that off?
Yes, there is. So with my market center, this week I'm doing baby steps to DocuSign class.
Yes.
Half-hour classes every day. I'm
Wow.
recording them. I'm happy to share them with your office.
Please.
So today we did, understanding the DocuSign platforms, and that goes over changing all of those notifications because there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
And
if we could talk about that Thursday, I would
Sure.
probably just bring that up because I do know that, with a lot of the admin that are on the call, that they're going to want to know how to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't mind sending me those, if you don't mind us jumping in on your training, that would be
not at all.
How big is your office? Did you say 100?
About 150 agents.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. How about you guys? What do you say?
We have like 230.
Oh wow! Wow.
It's a little big. Yeah, it's and we have some agents that write some contracts.
So they need to know.
I'm sure you guys do too. Yeah, there's some agent writing contracts. Did you guys? When is your last day on .loop?
What do you mean?
Like did you guys totally you're done with
.loop?
Loop?
Last day. I thought you said last name. It's June 15th.
That's okay. And then after that, you guys are making everyone you're jumping over to command.
Yes.
Okay, because you're not doing any compliance in .loop after that time.
Correct.
I got it. Okay.
So, I know we're going to talk about templates today, and what I'm suggesting to each market center is that they have one person who's super detail oriented who creates the master templates.
Got it. Yeah. For the office. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have someone like that, I don't know if it's director of first impressions or.
Yeah, that's who's been our tech person. Yeah.
Are they going to be on here?
She's supposed to be. Not sure she is, but you are recording this, right?
Yes,
So
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, because once the master is created for the office, it's going to be so much easier.
I got it for the agents.
Yeah, okay. And I just figured that out a couple days ago.
Yeah, I know you've been working with this for a while, so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking with Lori too. She said it's a huge help.
Oh, good. Yeah, she actually vacationed on Cape Cod the same time that I do.
No way. Oh my gosh. What a small world we have.
I know.
Oh my gosh. That is so wild.
Yeah.
The agent's been pretty good about adopting, or you have 50-50?
Yes and no. I mean, personality types really show here, those E and I personality types. They're still kind of pissed off. Yeah,
because they don't like change.
Right, and they just want it done with, and my office, I can finally say, okay, it's done. Now all you have to do is use it.
There you go. And then, do you have anyone that's staying with .loop that, is going to drag it out for themselves?
I'm not sure. I'm sure there are some people who will. But again, the problem with that is that all of those templates disappear.
Yep.
So you think you're going to stay with .loop, and then you go and look for your KW templates, and they're not there.
That's what I've been trying to tell people that I've been talking to is download all our KW forms and put them somewhere, because I'm not sure what's going to happen on the 15th. I mean, I could totally go away like you're saying, or I don't know. I mean, .loop's been a little vague at the moment.
Yeah. So I'll wait a couple more minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we should have a bunch of people on, because everyone, this is their hot button. I'm like, people better get on. There you go, Scott. I was going to say, you people better get on this call.
I'm here for sure.
Yeah, Scott helps a team, so.
Oh, good. Yeah. Are you like an operations manager?
I am, yes. Director of operations, and I'm looking forward to this. I thank you for your help.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's actually my role as well. So I think you'll enjoy this.
Thank you.
And before we get started officially, does anyone have any burning questions? Because I can write them down and make sure that I address them.
I don't think I know enough to ask you a question. That's my problem.
And that's
Same.
okay too.
Same here. This is Carrington Moore, by the way. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi. So my name is Carrington Moore. Some of you may know my sister. Her name is Sarah Moore Perrin.
Yeah.
And she just left Anna Kay in town and started the Perrin Property Group.
Awesome.
And I am serving as her, we'll say, director of operations as well. In this downtime, I come from a corporate event world that unfortunately disappeared. I believe Sarah is going to try to jump on this call, but one question that I know she had, because same with you, not only am I new to this entire industry, I'm new to DocuSign as well, so I don't even think I know enough to ask the questions. Yeah. But one of the questions that she did have, because we were going through a document the other day, is she was mentioning in DotLoop, there was a way to, when she's in her template, everything is filled out, but there's, say, three fields that need to change each time she sends it. And she couldn't figure out how to, we both couldn't figure out how to just fill those in prior to sending to our recipients without first sending to us. So she did the workaround, which was she sent it to herself first, then filled in those 3 fields and then sent it. But she was saying in DotLoop, that's just like one extra step that she didn't have to do in DotLoop.
Yes, so we will definitely go over that. There is a way to fix that. And
perfect.
Once it's fixed, you don't have to worry about it. So we'll cover that today.
Awesome.
All right, I am going to get started. All right, it's 12:01. So just to introduce myself, I am Emma Wiseman. I am an agent in Central Massachusetts. I'm a licensed agent, admin, team operations. I used to work at the front desk, and I used to do some assistant MCA stuff. So this is, kind of in my wheelhouse. And I'm happy to try to help you guys. Do yourself a favor and mute yourself if you're not already muted. If you happen to have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and answer it. I don't have anyone monitoring the chat box, so Sherry, if you see someone put something in the chat, go ahead and let me know.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I am recording this, so I will send this to the office once this is done. And just also to start the meeting, I am doing a 5-day baby steps to DocuSign class for my market center. So I am also going to share those videos and manuals with you because I think you'll find them helpful. So I'm going to start off by showing you this kind of overview of DocuSign. So take a picture of this, screenshot it, do whatever you need to do. The biggest thing with DocuSign is that there are 2 platforms within one website. So e-signature is when you're working on the business. That's when you are creating templates. So that's what we're mostly going to cover in today's training is templates. So there's a separate support number for templates and e-signature.
And we are in sync. Now, how come we can do that? And
oops, Tracy, I'm going to mute you.
oh, I'm sorry.
Or mute yourself if you don't mind. And then the second platform within DocuSign is Rooms. That's working in the business. So that's when you're actually writing contracts, sending things out for signatures, and getting work done. So again, today we are going to be talking about e-signatures, working on the business, working on templates. So if we go to DocuSign, we are going to log in. And I'm logging in independently of Keller Williams right now. So I'm not going through Command and Opportunities. I am just going straight to DocuSign. I'm going to switch to e-signature because this is where we are going to work on our templates. So up here, there's a tab that says templates. We will click on that. And again, this is the back end of the templates. This is not where you're actually sending out for signatures. This is what your admin is going to be working on, or this is what you will use to create your own templates. So a couple of things over here. There are a couple different tabs. One is my templates. So these are all templates that I have personally added for myself as the agent. This shared with me tab is where the master templates from your market center will show up. Now, the website takes a long time to load, so just be patient. So here you can organize by name. It's like super slow today, of course. Date created, last change, or whatever. So if you click on one of these, now I don't know what the forms are like in Atlanta, but just so you can see, we can go ahead and edit. Now, this is not where we're going to actually edit because this is the master template. So someone in your market center needs to create these master templates. It's going to make everyone's life easier. So someone who's a high C personality like myself, find someone in your office to do that. So that's kind of, once you have your master templates, that's going to make a big difference. Now, if you don't have master templates, you can create your own. So I'm going to go back into my templates, and we are going to just, we'll make a new one.
Emma,
Now,
quick question.
sure.
For teams, do teams set up team level templates in that same place where the market center is setting them up, or do we set them up elsewhere?
Good question. So unfortunately, there's no real team template. Every individual agent has to have their own personalized templates. So if your office market center makes a master template, you can download those all and individually upload them to each agent and then personalize them within each agent's profile, if that makes sense.
Not the answer I wanted, but it makes sense.
Yeah, same here.
Emma, there's no way for them to like create one and maybe they don't put in the name of the agent and some of the specific information that is just for that agent, and then for them to share it. Like they make it still generic enough that they can share with all their team members, and all the team member has to do is fill in like their specific information.
Yes, so you know what I'm going to show you first. I'm going to switch to rooms and I'm going to show you what an actual shared template looks like. Okay, I think that might help to explain. So I'm going to create a new envelope and call it buyer consultation forms. I'm going to use a template and I'm going to select shared with me. So this is where, you know, all of the agents are going to go once your team, once your office templates are set up. And I can go in and pick the templates that I want. I can pick more than one template at a time, which is nice. I'm just going to hit add. And again, I'm just trying to show you what the templates, the master templates from your market center will eventually look like. So they'll all pop up. If I don't need a form anymore, I can delete it. If I want to use a template, but I still want to use something else that is customized or personal to my team or my business plan or whatever, I can upload manually here. I'm still going to add recipients to the envelope from those pre-tagged roles. And now I'm going to hit next. And that's where you're going to see everything that is going to auto-populate that is tailored to my market center. So you see here it says Keller Williams Realty North Central. So the license number and the market center name is entered here, but I still have to manually put my own name here and my own license number. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes. So basically what you're saying is if the market center doesn't set up their templates like yours did, or yours is going to, each person needs to set up their own template individually.
Yeah, exactly. So,
And I'm sorry, I'm very new. This is Carrington again. If we don't have any forms in that shared with me, who I imagine somebody in the market center knows that and is working on it, or do we need to ask somebody?
Just because I know at the moment the market center is not working on that, but I will find out, you know, what we can do to try to get some market center templates worked on.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. Because I'd probably ask them and they'd be like, who are you? How did you get this email?
Emma, if our market center sets up these master templates, can then we go in and edit them and put in our name and license number like you did?
yes, yeah.
I mean, as a permanent template, not every single time.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show you that. So that was working in the business. We were just kind of doing a sample. I could show you where the shared templates go. We're gonna go back in the e-signature and we are going to work on templates. Now I'll answer your question. So we're gonna use a shared with me template, okay? And we're going to download it and upload it so that we can personalize it. So there's only the MCA can share the templates with the office. So if I, as an agent, find a template that I create and I want to share it with everyone, I can't do that automatically. I have to download it and then share it. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. And again, the website is just super slow. So this is the master office template. I'm going to download, select all of the masters that I want to use and click on download. It's going to download as a zip file. That's okay, just leave it alone, okay? Don't unzip it. Now to upload that to your own personal templates, as the agent, you're gonna hit new and say upload. And we are just going to, use the zip file that we just downloaded. It's going to load and it's going to take quite a while to load. So again, just be patient and take a deep breath in and out. So now, if we go into my templates, it is showing all of my templates. But then if we look up to see, this is the one that I uploaded from the master, if that's making sense. If not, let me know. So now, this is again, me on the back side of my business working on the business. I am going in and entering my own name if I wanted to. I could also say I am always the listing agent for my own personal deals. So I'm always going to add myself as the listing agent. That making sense? I'm gonna hit next. Now here is where I can go in. My market centers info is already here, but now I'm going to go add own name here. if I have a certain commission percentage that I definitely want to use every single time, I can put that in here. Again, if you have an MLS that you use all the time, I can put that in here. Anywhere that you need to customize your forms, you can do that too. I'm gonna hit save and close. So now that's showing up in my templates, right? Is this making sense? So if we want to use that template that we just created, let's switch back over to rooms, and I'm just going to show you. And go ahead and make sure you're muting yourself if you don't need to talk.
Hey, Emma.
Yes.
When you were talking with Lori, so Lori obviously is creating templates without waiting for the office to do the master. So she's doing a different, I guess it would be a different step than what you did, which was take a template that already has been created. She created a different way, correct?
Yeah, and I'll go over that after.
Perfect. Yeah.
You guys don't have those master templates yet?
No, we don't have them. I mean, we're willing to work on them. I've been texting Mark in between us chatting. It's just that I know some of these teams may want to get something done faster than it might happen. But I just wanted them to have another option. But no, thank you. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is just personalizing a form that is already personalizing a template that is already created from our office, which hopefully you guys will get there. So now when I go to use a template, I'm finding the one that I just created. It's going to load. I can add those pre-tagged roles. For some reason it didn't pick me up there, but that's okay. And then under next, you would see that it would automatically populate with those new forms that I created. Why isn't it doing here? Of course, it's not going to work when I go to show you guys. But that's how it would work. So now,
Emma, you mentioned that only the MCA can upload templates that become shareable with the entire market center. Can an MCA upload a template and make it shareable only to specific groups of people, i.e. teams? I'm trying to hack a solution for my problem.
Yes. So yes, you can. So the MCA is able to share with individual agents or the whole market center as a whole. So if you had 5 agents on your team, the MCA would just have to make sure to share it to the correct 5 agents, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. That's awesome.
Yeah. So now that we see how downloading and customizing master shared templates look like, I know we still need to talk about how to create a template from scratch. So you will need to have your documents downloaded. So all of your forms that you need. I don't know if your market center has done this, but in our market center, when we go into an opportunity, let's see. When we go to documents and we select our, category over here, the actual blank master copy of the form is here. Sherry, do you know if your market center is set up like that?
We have not attached a copy of the form, but we did do the placeholders like you have for each one, like the mandatory license, whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't have like a sample of any of that attached.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so our market center happened to do this all, and then we can just download them here. But if you don't have that, I would suggest going into .loop.
Okay, you can back up a minute. So if you say they did have that, just hypothetically, because we know we don't have it right now, what does that do for you?
So what that does, and this is again just creating a template from scratch. But if I wanted to create this mandatory relationship disclosure form into a template from scratch, this is the blank form, nothing's filled out. I would hit this download button.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could upload it when I create a new template.
So it's like a shortcut.
It's a shortcut, or you could go into .loop and, you know, what we've been doing, I don't know if you guys have folders in here that are also kind of pre-filled out what you need in each folder in .loop. Do you do that?
I think individual agents may have had their stuff set up as templates, but we have, yeah, no, we have to fill out our, in .loop, we're filling out our own stuff.
So if you go to templates in .loop, you should have all of your forms that you're using on a regular basis here. And you can pick whatever form you want to use and download it. So let's say this is in .loop and this is a form that you want to make a template. You can just download it that way as well. So now that you've downloaded your files, and you know, I just made a folder that said documents to create templates, and I had a completed file, and once I completed them, I just like clicked and dragged them into completed. Any questions on that? Okay. So now we are going to create a template from scratch without any shared Office templates. I'm going to hit new and say create a template. Let's name this. I'm just going to click this file that I just downloaded and drag it here. And there it is. If I needed to rename it, I could do that. If I had the wrong file by accident, I could just delete it. You can also, if you do have all the files somewhere else, you can, you know, find them here. Now you'll still want to create your pre-tagged roles. So on this form, we have a buyer and a seller. Now I've noticed that you have to kind of separate buyers and sellers under your pre-tagged roles, unless you're calling them client 1 and client 2. You have to have separate forms for buyers and sellers. So that's the way we've been doing it. So actually up here, when I name this, I'm going to call this the code buyer to the buyer. Any questions on that? So I have not set a signing order. I would not suggest doing this unless you are super advanced and you understand the consequences of clicking that button. It is going to trigger who and when people can sign. I don't like it unless you're working with both buyer and seller and you definitely want the buyer to sign first. Especially in templates, you're really not going to be using this. So both buyer 1 and buyer 2 need to sign. You can change this. And again, this is your template. So if you always needed, let's say, your admin to receive a copy, you could add them here and just say receive a copy. Okay. So if you click on needs to view, the admin would have to view it before the envelope is completed and before you are able to access the signed documents. I don't like needs to view. if you wanted to add a private message or add a password. You know, there are a bunch of things you can do here, but just keep it simple. Don't really mess around with this too much. We are now going to next, and here is where we can click and drag our signatures. So you can make it bigger, make it smaller, you know, basically where that little line is underneath the arrow is where the signature is going to show up. So this is a bad example because there are no text boxes to add here, but what I'm going to show you, this is where that person who asked the question about the agent having to view and sign it before the client can see it. This is where that comes into play. So again, this is going to be important for whoever is creating those master templates. You need to make sure the formatting is correct for your text box. So, for example, you see how it changes from yellow to white? By unchecking this, I am saying it's not a required field. So if I do not fill this in, it's not going to require me to fill it in. I would highly suggest, even if fields are required, I would suggest making them not. Because if you make them required, wonky, weird stuff is going to happen when you send them out. I'm also 99% of the time going to select read only. What this means is that when you're sending it to a client, they cannot edit the text. Make sense? So if I send this off to, I'm going to look at the recipient preview here, to buyer 1, I can't edit this, right? So you don't want your clients editing things. That's a bad idea. You also can change the font. So like I said, I'm a high C. I can't stand this font. I found the best font that works well is this one. Size 8 is what I normally use. That's the one that works for our forms. Now, one other thing is fixed width. So if you don't want the, agent to be typing and a bunch of other stuff pops up, I don't want it to get bigger, right? I want to make sure I have a fixed width so that it can't get bigger when when agents are actually filling in the forms. Then the last thing is collaboration. So this is where that form is going to pop up. So if I wanted to do a test, I'm going to say, can buyer 1 and buyer 2 see this? It's assigned to buyer 1 right now. It is not collaborated. So I'm going to do recipient preview. Because it's assigned to buyer 1 can see it. Buyer 2 doesn't see it. So that's where that collaboration button comes into play. And this is like a huge thing for me. If you hit recipients can collaborate, that means even if something is assigned to buyer 1, buyer 2 is still going to see it.
Hey, Emma, one moment. Can everyone that is not Emma mute yourself, please? Because we're getting a lot of feedback from someone that's on the call. So if you guys can please mute yourself, and if you have a question, go off of mute. That'd be great. Thanks. Sorry, Emma.
That's okay. So I just muted everyone too. So yeah, this was a huge aha for me. So you have to make it read only. You should not have it required. And then you should always say recipients can collaborate. That is life-changing for me. So that's important. So if again, when would you not use this? I'll show you that in a little bit. So best practice is once you've created this custom field that is, formatted to read only, not required, fixed width, and recipients can collaborate, I will save this as a custom field. So it's showing everything that, the fixed width and everything like that. The only thing that the custom field does not save is that collaboration piece. And that to me is the most important piece, because you want to make sure everyone can see what you're putting in the document. So like I just created that custom field. So it's right here. So now if I added that custom field, you see how it's not checked for recipients can collaborate? So I really wish it was. I mean, geez, that would be too easy. But best practice, just copy and paste. And that way, all of your text boxes will have the correct formatting. Now, this is not very easy, and how would you know this unless someone told you, right? So again, make sure it's read only, not required, fixed width, and recipients can collaborate. Now I'm going to show you what happens if you say required only, because I know some people are thinking, well, I want that to actually be required. You wouldn't want that to happen, because if you're signing as buyer one, it's not going to do it here. Oh, it's because it's not read only. So if this was not read only, and I was buyer one, you see how it would bring me to this field, and as the buyer, I might edit this. I just don't like that. The only way that this comes in handy is for a seller's disclosure where they're manually filling things out. But again, even if they have to manually fill things out, I would not use the required field, because it's going to trip up your clients. Same thing for date signed. It will, once you kind of change the font on one thing, it is going to change it for whatever you add. So date signed, will automatically change to the correct font. And I find that I always want to put it over here, but then when I actually look at it, the date signed shows up too far over. So it's like really hard for my brain to be like, oh, I gotta, put it over here, and then it will look better when someone actually signs. See? So another thing with date signed, you as your own agent should be going in and changing your settings and your time zone settings. And I'm going to share that video that I just did from my market center about how to change all your notifications and settings. I'm going to share that with you today. But basically, just make sure your time zone is correct. You're going to notice here on the recipient preview that the buyer one automatically goes to BST. I don't even know what that is. Does anyone know what BST is? So normally it auto goes to Pacific Coast time. So that's just a DocuSign flaw. Unless your client goes in and creates an account and changes their own settings, which none of your clients are going to do, it will.
Yeah, I did find out something. So, and I've always flew through this, so I didn't catch it. But when your clients get the document for signature, it does pop up. Do you allow it to know where you are from?
Oh,
And if they select yes, which most people are like, no, I don't want it to know where I am, they'll say
yeah.
no, and it is going to go Pacific. But
Oh my God.
if they select yes, I'm okay with you knowing where I am, it will do the right time zone.
That is so cool.
Yeah, but again, like you said, most clients like me, I was even breezing through it. I'm like, whatever. I didn't realize how important it was until
Yeah.
now.
Wow. Thank you. That's a great point. I'm writing that down. So I hope this kind of helps with the templates. So basically, just make sure that you have someone who's highly detail oriented when you're creating your own templates. And if you need to add more text, make sure your first text box is formatted correctly, and then just copy and paste the text boxes. The same thing goes for checkbox. So a checkbox can be read only, or it cannot be. That will, obviously depend on the form. And then it can also be collaborated. So if I checked this checkbox and it wasn't collaborated, and I view it as buyer one will definitely see it, but buyer two won't, because I didn't collaborate that checkbox. So like for our forms, there are a couple forms where I don't want the other buyer to see what I selected, or if there is no buyer two, I only want the second checkbox to show up if there's buyer two. So you're gonna kind of have to go through each form and say, oh, do I need it collaborated or not? There is also no real place to put in a date. So you know how Dotloop had, that great, sorry, see, I didn't copy and paste. You know, Dotloop had that really cool, pop-up calendar, and you could just pick the dates. You can't do that here. So I called DocuSign to kind of go over this with them. And basically, even though there is a way that you can create a date button here under validation, see how it's showing, the validation date mask? That only works if it is read only. Oh, sorry, if it's not read only. So we're going to put a date here. I'm just going to show you. I think it'll make more sense. I have a date that is not read only, okay? So if I preview as, it's going to let me pick a date, right? Because this is read only as the client. So like listing contracts, you don't want those dates. You don't want those read only. You don't want the buyer or the seller to change the contract to one day. You don't want them to be able to change that. So if you click on that validated date button and say read only, then it is no longer able to pop up that date calendar. So long story short, you cannot create date buttons. You just basically, you have to manually enter in the dates. I know it's a little bit different. Same thing goes for your name. So a lot of people are like, oh, this, full name, this is great. It's just gonna say the full name of buyer one, which is fine, but you notice how there is no read only or collaboration buttons here? So if I'm saying full name as buyer one, then under buyer one, that pops up, but under buyer two, it won't pop up. So again, I want everyone to be able to see everything in my documents. If you use these full name tags, they're not able to be collaborated, so everyone is not going to see them. So if you're thinking, oh, I'll just put my own full name in my listing agreement. Well, the client's not going to see it, and they're going to see a blank form under who the agent is, and you don't want that to happen. I see a question here. So will the market center, once they have shared templates, will they automatically update? No. So whoever creates those first master templates, they will have to edit those anytime a change is made, which is kind of annoying. So is this making sense? You really need to make sure that your formatting is perfect on your templates. Otherwise, it's not going to work, and you're going to run into that thing where you have to sign the document first, or buyer 1 is seeing everything, but buyer 2 isn't seeing everything. So once you have all of your, tags in there and everything that you need to do. So, sorry, James, to answer your question, the date signed button is just your timestamp. So like in .loop, it would automatically timestamp when you sign. You have to add that in here. So it's showing signature and date signed. Whereas if you create that other date button, that's just a text box. You can create a date field here. But the problem is, remember, if you make this read only, they're not going to be able to have that pull down calendar. And you really wouldn't want to make this not read only, because then if you are sending out listing contracts, they could change the listing contract date to 1 month instead of 6 months, if that makes sense. And then if you need to delete something, you can just delete it. Another cool feature, if you are copying, you can click paste to location, and it will bring it to exactly where your mouse points. Lots of different cool things in here. If you want to select things and make sure that they align. You see what I just did there? So they were all kind of staggered and not in line. I can make them all to the right or the left. So I could move things all together. If I have one signature all set up, I can just copy it. And you can use, your keyboard too, and then paste to location. And that'll save you some time. There's also the shortcuts button where you can see, if you need to cut, paste, copy, all those fun things. Any questions on this part? Okay, so I'm going to hit save and close. So now this is a template under e-signature working on the business. Oops, sorry. Template for myself from scratch. Only I see this. It's not shared with the office. I'm not an MCA. Now let's say I make a bunch of cool forms that I want to share with some people in the office. Same thing as before. Click, download, or make a copy. Let's see, I made one for the buyer. Let's say I wanted to make one for the seller. I'm just gonna hit that button, and again, just wait for the website to reload, because if you don't and keep clicking it, it's going to make like 10 different copies. So this one's for the seller, so very similar. I'm going to keep mostly the same roles, except I'm just changing to seller this time. And I will just click and drag these all down to the seller side. Save and close. So now, you know, in a matter of minutes, I've just created 2 templates. And then if I want to share them with a team or with other agents, I can hit download. And then the other agent would just need to log in and upload the templates here. What, does that make sense? Do you have any questions on that part?
Hey, Emma, so it sounds like when you do that, like you just created your seller and buyer and you did that for one team member and you just went as far as that it's still generic enough that you can share what you've done so far with another team member and then go in and fully customize the rest of it, like putting in their name, their license number.
Exactly.
Correct?
Yeah, yeah. So it's cool. That's what I started doing. I was like, oh, I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to, you know, share them with people that ask me in my office. And I was like, wait, I need to do this for the MCA. So when I did our shared templates, you know, I copied all of the forms I'd already made for myself and then put them in the MCA folder and then just slightly edited them. So if you have someone who really like loves doing this stuff, it's well worth it to hire them to do it for the office because it'll just be such a time saver for everyone.
So you did it because when we were talking before, so you did it the other way around because you realized that it would have been easier if the market center started first. But you started building them for your team first, and then the market center is like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Why don't you build them for our market center? Exactly. And then you realize, okay. Yeah. We do have a question down in the chat box. It says, what does eligible for matching mean?
Good question. So I haven't really played around with this yet, but I think it's capable of doing some cool stuff. I think, you know, just leave it as eligible. I believe what it does is if you're, you know what, we're going to test it out. If you are in your rooms, now, I don't know what way your market center is teaching how to send documents out for signatures, but I do not use the documents tab. I go straight to envelopes, but I know a lot of people are going to documents.
Yeah, we use documents. And then what I do is I click the little corner and pick the document, and then it has the little pen for signature. That's what I've been teaching them.
Gotcha. So that's one way to do it, and my way is a little bit different, but I assume you're using these forms?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm just going to add one that I know is in here. Now, see, the problem with forms is that if you've already added it once, you can't add it again. So that can get a little annoying, and I know some people were confused with that.
Totally.
All right, so we're gonna select this and DocuSign. Now, I'm kind of just playing around here. I think there's some way that you can, see, apply template. Now I'm going to try, remember, So I think this is actually going to be really cool. I hope. And it's going to apply the template to the form that I just created. So let's see if it works. So it did. The problem is the form already has some pre-tagged roles that were already created from the market center. So it's going to depend on if your market center has all of those signature placeholders already built in to your forms. So that's kind of cool. if it's set up the right way. I have another question here. Okay, so if we have multiple amendments, we can't add the form more than once. So what do you mean by that, James?
So we can have all of our forms for amendment are just called amendment, and we put the number in 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're saying we can't add another form called amendment?
So if you are using the forms button under documents, you see how I've added KWNC buyer disclosure form. If I wanted to add another one of those, if I'm using the forms platform, I can't, because it's already showing that I have added it. So if you're using forms, I believe there is a way to copy. Oh yeah, that's right. So it dead ends you here. You can't copy. So that's why, and this is kind of a whole nother class, but I do not suggest using the forms because they have dead ends where it doesn't make sense. Like you're saying, if you have more than one amendment, you want to be able to use more than one. So if we're using envelopes, creating an envelope for every step of the way. So we're a 2-step process here. We have an offer and a P&S. So if we make one for offer, and I use a template rather than a form, I can add as many addendums or amendments as I want. I can use the same template over and over again within one envelope. If that answers your question, does it? Let me know.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Good. So yeah, that kind of brings us to a good segue is how do you use those templates? So I would not use documents. So the way I'm teaching my market center is just pass right over documents, go to envelopes, create envelopes for each step of your process, whether it's buyer or seller. Then once you're in the envelope, you've added your files, you just add your pre-tagged roles, which in reality is very similar to .loop. It's just a different step. Oops, backwards. Then hit next. And then all of your templates will pre-populate. And this is a master KW template, or this one is mine. Sorry, this automates with mine. So, you know, in this case, I used one master template and one of my own templates. So I really do like this feature because, you know, sometimes in .loop it restricts you. But here I added a master template and a personal template. And let's just say I wanted to add something else completely non-template. I can still do that. If I wanted to add, you know, a picture of the check or something, and I wanted them to initial that or something, or if I wanted a picture of the house or whatever, it's kind of cool. You can actually add pictures here. I'll just show you. In .loop, you can't do that. So if I had, you know, a picture that I wanted to add, now what's going to happen is I'll have all my documents in one place rather than in .loop where you had to go into each form and edit it, you know, individually. This brings it all up at once. Now you notice how it's already saying not required, read only, and collaborate. So because it's template, you know, it's set up the way it should. Again, for dates, I'll manually enter them in. And then, you know, I could add initials onto a picture if I really wanted to. So, you know, that's a nice feature. So let's just hit send because I want to show you a couple of things once we send. And this will be in the user guide that I'm going to send you, but There are pretty much 4 different phases of an envelope. An envelope is kind of like a folder in .loop. So one phase is draft, and that's when it's got the gray banner and you're just working on it. 2 is when it says needs my signature. So a difference from .loop to DocuSign, you cannot sign while you're in the edit stage. So you actually have to send it out, and then you have to manually sign it yourself. So we'll do that in a second. You notice here there's a correct button. That's an edit button. So if the envelope has a gray or a blue banner, it means that you are able to correct, aka edit it. So if I messed up, I could, fix it there. I can also copy it. So this is kind of how I'm doing things, is making a backup copy. Reason being is once something is signed, you can't go in and edit it just like you did in .loop and then resend for signatures. So this is kind of like my backup. So if I have a counter offer, I'll be able to edit it, because once everyone signs, you can no longer edit the envelope, and I'll show you what that looks like here. That's me as the agent actually signing. And then as the consumer, I am signing. So notice, as the agent, I signed. So now, instead of saying waiting for your signature, it's saying waiting for others. Even though I have signed, I can still correct it because not everyone has signed, so it's not completed yet. But as soon as the buyer signs, or the client, and they hit finish, now everyone is signed. The envelope becomes, and again, the website just takes a while to catch up, a long while. Well, the envelope becomes completed. So as the client, once everyone is signed, I'm getting a document saying your document has been completed, and I'm also getting a fully signed copy PDF version of each file that I signed, which is kind of cool. So you don't have to, manually do that. It'll just automatically do that. So now the envelope is showing up as green. That means it's completed. You can see I can no longer edit it or correct it. So that's why I made that backup. So if I, got a counter from the listing agent and I needed to make a quick change, I could, without having to recreate the wheel and enter everything in again. It's already, holding what I put in there based on when you save it. So pretty much you have to type everything in, get ready to send it, and then say, oh, I'm gonna make a copy of this right before I send it. That's one way. Now, once you have a completed envelope, this is where I go into the Documents tab. And now you see in green, the signed documents are showing. So we have a question here. Is there a setting to get the PDF attachment in the email? It doesn't do that. Are you sure that the envelope is completed? Yes. That's a good question. I'm not sure. There must be. I would search that here. That's a nice feature here. I'm guessing, search it in here and or Google it. I'm not sure of the exact answer to that question, but It should happen automatically. I don't know.
Okay, thanks.
So now once I have my signed documents here, you notice if you're using forms under the documents tab, anytime you add a form here, it's here. And then once it's signed, it's like you have two duplicates. I don't know if anyone's running into that, but when you use templates under envelopes, you realize only the completed version is here. There's no extra form. So it kind of cuts out the duplicity there. Now, this is again just my office's best practice. I like to add folders here similar to the names of the envelopes. So for my purposes, you know, I'm creating one for offer and P&S. So anytime I have something for the offer, I can just click and drag it into that file. And then think of your room docs as like your root folder. It's like a desktop. That's where everything goes first. And then you have to click and drag it into the right place. This will help you with compliance when you're in Command and you're trying to add files from DocuSign. Let's see here. So when you're adding files from DocuSign, it'll connect to your room as long as you've done that correctly. And it's going to show you those folders here. So it will really help you to, you know, with compliance and you have to upload everything. So of course, if I don't want something here, okay, this is a good example. Remember how I added a picture? It was not a template. So I'm still getting that duplicate here. So I'm just going to archive that. Very similar to dotloop. You can still see archived documents if you need to. So that one's signed. I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to just archive these. Now that was a form. So if I go up and try to add that form again, I'm just curious to see if it would let me add that same form. No. So really, that's why I don't like forms. They're too glitchy. So I would suggest using just templates. So if I wanted to combine these, just click on them, hit combine. It's going to ask me to create a new name. I'll save, and then it's automatically going to reload and bring me into that root desktop folder. Combined as one. So I can then, oops, click and drag and put it back into the offer as combined as one. Same thing if I need to split this, a little bit different, but very similar to dotloop. You know, you could just create the different files here. And then it will again reload and save those new files down here. Another thing, if you needed to fax, for the one person who asks you to fax a year, you can actually fax. I tested this out and it works, which I love. You can also obviously manually download it. You can copy it. You can also, so like if we needed to change something after, let's say this was an offer and I had a counter. If I forgot to make a copy, I can click DocuSign. This will create a new envelope. We'll call it counter offer. Still have to add recipients. Notice pre-tagged roles is not popping up because this is not a template. So I would have to say, you know, add my room participants. And I could always say add from an email if I, didn't have them in the room. And then you would have to do a strike through. So again, this is a copy. It's not letting me edit this. This is me after the fact coming in here, marking things up. That's no good. This one, I need to put a new signature and a new date signed. You see, it's not holding the same font. And then just remember, if you are clicking a new text box and saying, this is the correct version, remember, it's not holding all the formatting from the template. So you're gonna have to go in and manually remember to uncheck required, check read only, check collaborate, change the font if you want. So it depends on how obsessive you are. I happen to be very, so then you could, that's how you would edit or, change documents after the fact. Not super easy, but as one of my agents in my office said, well, that's the way we used to do it. So, you'd actually strike something through. So I guess that's how it might be. And again, same way you would send it off. Okay, so here it's saying that I didn't add any fields. I only added one field for the buyer. I didn't add anything for the listing or buyer agent, which is okay. So it's just saying, did you really mean to not send anything to them? So now again, it's showing as needs my signature. So this is the problem. I really should have, because I added myself as a recipient, I have to sign, even though I have no signature holders. So really, I should have not added myself as a participant in this envelope because I didn't need to sign anywhere. So in order for it to complete, it's going to make me manually open this up and just say, oh, I opened it. And that's going to trigger the envelope to then say waiting for others. So hopefully that makes some sense. Let me know if you have any questions. Someone's got to have one. So if not, I think the biggest thing is getting someone to work on those master templates and then, downloading them and customizing them and tailoring them for you. So again, just to recap, you will have under e-signature your templates that you have physically, edited either by downloading shared with me templates or by creating your own from scratch. And then when you're actually in rooms and you're actually signing things, I would avoid using forms. They are going to cause more problems than they will help you. So I would just go straight to envelopes, create your envelopes, and then keep the documents tab for just your signed files. I think that's a much easier way to understand and to practically use DocuSign on a regular basis. So any last questions or any other thoughts or? Sherry, anything?
So when you guys first started doing this, did you ever use the documents or you guys went straight to envelopes? Because any training I've seen out there, they start with documents.
Yeah, my market center did, and that's when I got so angry. And I was like, this makes no sense. I can't work like this on a regular basis. It's too glitchy. So that's when I personally researched this and found out this alternative way. to using DocuSign, and it's just really helped me and a lot of the people in my office.
So you don't really use the rooms then. You use the, well, I guess you do because you have to bring them back over to command from
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, we're still using the room.
Yeah. So you bring them back. That's where you're bringing your documents in. But you, like when you go to, like, can you go to your envelopes tab for a minute?
Yeah.
So this is when you're creating, like you would create, for example, a new envelope and you would say it's like, you know, maybe you tailor to like your consultation, like the other buckets. And
Yeah.
then you drop in your whatever documents you need, the 3 or 4 documents.
Yeah.
And then you start your other one to be under contract. And then you drop in your 3 or 4 documents. So
exactly. Yeah.
And I guess just to get to James's question, when you had the amendments, which is James, I'm surprised no one has brought this up yet, so thank you. When you have your amendments, obviously you could be writing, I mean, some people write quite some amendments, like 10 or 12. You just go to your envelope, create the amendments.
Yes, because if you, I'm going to show you an actual example. So yeah, we are still using rooms. Rooms aren't going away. The only difference is the process that you take within the room. So instead of going to documents and adding some forms, I am going straight to envelopes.
Yeah.
Creating an envelope for each phase. So like if you go back in a command and you're looking at, you know, each kind of phase here listed under contract flows, similar thing. You kind of want to have one envelope for each one of those categories. Now, obviously, extensions come up when you need a separate envelope, or if you're, you know, not doing a buyer consult and you just need an agency disclosure. Yeah, but yeah, you should organize your envelope based on what phase of the transaction you're in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I mean, if they wanted to keep going down the document path, that's fine until you get to a point where you need the same document, like for example, amendments, then you can jump over to envelopes and create an amendment envelope, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can jump back and forth.
Yeah, definitely. You can do it either way. This is just the way that I find makes more sense. And then remember, if you are using documents, you're going to have duplicate forms in here. You're going to have one signed and one PDF. So this is like real live stuff. I have all my different folders. So I have a buyer client folder, which is like the consult, all signed. I have offer forms, which.
How did you create your folders?
So you just click on actions and add folder. And you do have to do that manually every time. Maybe someday they'll change that.
That's the thing that was driving me crazy about documents is it sort of just throws them all in there and it puts them in alphabetic order. So you were able to add a folder and then would it let you drag them into the folder?
Yeah. So again, end up in your kind of desktop, which is your room docs.
Oh my God, that'll be so much easier.
And then you can just click and drag. So this is an extension actually that's signed. So I do have to put that in the offer tab. Now, the reason these are showing up as PDF is because these are sent back from the seller. So we weren't working with a seller. This is another agent. So, you know, we manually added those here once they were signed. But yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think this makes a lot more sense. And if you have all of your envelopes, documents, and tabs here, you know, similar, it's only going to help you stay more organized.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that there were folders because that is incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I know I pushed off of templates. What questions do you guys have for her as far as templates? Obviously, she knows a whole lot more than I do about that. Anyone have any questions? So Emma, I know you're gonna send me some of your training docs and stuff, and I know you're gonna do another class for us Thursday, but this is gonna be on DocuSign. best practices. Anyone that's on the call, I would highly recommend you attend Emma's class. I mean, I just learned today about these folders. I had no idea those folders existed, and that will help keep your stuff organized on your end. I don't see your DocuSign rooms, but I know mine drives me crazy when it's all chaotic. This is a good way to organize it.
Yes, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. I mean, DocuSign is not compliance. All right, this is totally separate. And this is your stuff. Sure, the MCA can look at it, but really, they're not going to be coming in here to check your compliance. So it's up to you to organize it in here so that when you go into command and you're trying to add files here, it's so much easier because it's automatically going to add from whatever folder you decide. So it's going to be so much easier to find that for compliance.
Yeah, this has been super helpful. I really appreciate it.
Good, I'm glad. So any other questions before we wrap up here? Okay. Well, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Emma. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. So I'll send this over as soon as it's finished.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. Have a good day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.